Everybody's favorite plank pose, welcome back. So you've already watched the plank and forearm plank video, and so I'm here with Lainey. I'm actually going to show you some adjustments to work with plank that are super important and critical as a teacher, but if you're a student, you can definitely clue into some areas to be paying more attention to. So I'm actually going to have Lainey place the ball between her inner thighs, and so as a reminder from that plank video, that engagement from the inner thighs really activates the pelvic core and brings a lot more oomph into a pose that sometimes looks kind of saggy and sad. So she's going to come into plank. And obviously she does great in plank. She has a lot of good awareness. But for the typical student that may be new to plank and sometimes even, believe it or not, versed in plank and it still looks kind of saggy and kind of sad, what are some alignment things that we can be doing in plank to better serve our students? So first and foremost is I always scan the entire person and I always look and see kind of where their body is at. So I'm looking at the pelvis usually first. Is the pelvis kind of sagging towards the floor? And if it is, just a simple coming behind them and lifting their hips up. And then usually from that point, what often happens is they get booty touching. So the booty kind of kicks up to the ceiling and they have this kind of really abrupt arc in the lower back. This is where I take my forearm with a closed fist, come underneath their hip bones, hand to sacrum, and then lengthen out their lower back. And then they can usually feel, or I can feel, their core muscles engaging. So now they have this nice neutral pelvis. This is really important if they want good core activation. As you trail your way up, front rib cage, if I just bring my fingertips to the side of the ribs, is knitting in. And very common is winging in the scapula. And this is often a sign of shoulder girdle instability. In particular, the muscles on the sides of the rib cage. Okay, so we want to make sure that anterior, serratus anterior and posterior, they're kind of like the holsters for the guns, which are the shoulder blades. So if I bring my fingertips kind of right where her tank top is, and I simply pull up, she's going to get a really broad upper back, and now she's going to be nice and broad and open here. If it's just not happening, that's where I'm going to have someone come to their knees so that they can make that adjustment. You can also then be checking. She can stay on her knees. So I'm going to draw a straight line down from her shoulder to her wrist to make sure they can see a visual where their wrist should be if the wrists are too far forward. So just a good checkpoint for that. And if they find his heads to be saggy, I call it saggy head syndrome, I can simply bring my forearm down her spine and tap her head and have her bring her head up till she hits my fingertips. It's an easy way to create that length and that alignment. And then finally, the activation, I'm going to make Lainey come back up onto the balls of her feet, is a lot of times people's weight is too far forward. So if I tap her heels, I'm going to just have her push into her heels and at the same time push her crown of the head forward. So there's that traction of her body trying to literally be pulled in half, which is going to make her core quake even more. Guess what? You're finally using all the right muscles in a pose like plank. Great job.